All right, I'm live. We'll see who comes. Valdez is on at the same time, so I'm not going to stay very long. So I'm not going to stay very long. See who comes. See if anybody shows up. If nobody shows up, I'll bounce off. Yeah, it might come on later. Hey, what's up? I probably won't stay on very long. Give my hey, Supreme, what's going on? Give my my YouTube conservatives a chance to show up. And I'm trying to stay safe. Kareem, what's up? I appreciate it, Chicago writer. That's with about an hour worth of research. So, if any, see, I know this is kind of early, and there might not be people might be at work. So, um, but it's an AMA. If you're conservative, this is time to ask questions. Why am oh East African? You're in the building, okay? So if you want to conservatives want to come into the building and chop it up, they can. If not, we can stay in the chat. If you want me to drop the link, if you're conservative, you want to chop it up, defend your position. Blacks were always no, they weren't. Blacks were not conservative. Blacks were liberals. Blacks have always been liberals. What's the difference between liberals and leftists? Okay. You talking about American or you talking about internationally? By definition, liberals are leftists. By definition, if you're talking about internationally, if you're talking about in America, a laissez-faire liberal or classic liberal is on the right, and a Fabian socialist, which is democratic socialist, is on the left. By definition, I'll defend it. Okay, we can defend it, but let's get some ground rules, right? Come in hollering and screaming, I'm going to bounce you. If you can't articulate your facts or articulate your position without screaming, I'm going to bounce you. Come up with some bullshit, I'm going to bounce you. Okay? What's AMA? Ask me anything. You guys are on freaking YouTube. You guys on YouTube every day. This is YouTube lingo. AMA is ask me anything. There was no such thing as there was no such thing as a conservative during the Civil War. Conservative is a very new term, unless you were a royalist. Unless you're a royalist or you were what they call a federalist, which is believed in state rights. Not federalist, but a states' rights advocate. Then you would have been a conservative, like Andrew Jackson could have been what they call a conservative Democrat. But if you want to talk about it, we got about an hour because Valdez is on. Hey, Tom Malone, what's up? Who would I rather have as president? Trump, Biden, and why? It doesn't really matter to me. Neither is probably my answer. Neither are good candidates to me. But the thing is that Trump is the one that you have. So I am politically agnostic. I don't care because at the end of the day, they're going to be working with the same stuff, and neither of them can really change the direction that the United States is going. It's too late for that. The last true conservative president was probably what's his name? Right after Truman, Eisenhower. Last true conservative president was Eisenhower. And he was fiscally conservative, but he was socially liberal, as he said. Most of conservatism is really on the fiscal side anyway. But is there anything be done to save America? What do you mean by saving America? Saving America. America is a declining power. That is, by definition, economists know it. Everybody knows it. America is a declining power. You cannot bring it back to its former glory.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Then just walking to the store.
Okay.
So I'm just letting you know I'm here, but let me mute my camera here.
All right.
Okay. All right.
What's going on, BGS?
Hey, nothing much, man. I'm just, giving the conservatives a chance to talk.
Please call in. I want them to call in. I listened to your video clip earlier today at work, and I don't know. I just think black people are trying to practice this weird form of escapism, the like diluting their blackness as much as possible. And I think we practice it both, in who we date. I think we practice it politically. I think we practice it in how we speak. We just try to be as non-offensive as humanly possible, outside of obviously being offensive to each other. But if going the Candace Owens route comes off as less offensive to the white people around us, then we'll do that. If going down the Simone Sanders route comes off less offensive to the white people around us, I think we'll do that. So I think a lot of, especially black men, I think that edgelord, I'll be as conservative as I possibly can be. I think that shit sounds nice until you actually see what it looks like in real life, and then it falls to shambles. As your video was not even 30 minutes long, and you completely ripped up, I don't know, a few decades of black male conservatism.
Wait. Who is this talking?
It's Mr. Z.
Mr. Z, Alex.
You better stop talking like that. Massa gonna get you.
Right? It was like, I don't know, it's just you ripped up, a few decades of black conservatism in like, I don't know, a matter of like 20 something minutes, almost 30 minutes.
Black Sand, can you please stay on topic, bro? We ain't even talking about black Africanism or Pan-Africanism, bro. We're talking about conservatism. Okay. As far as Pan-Africanism, you have no clue what the fuck you're talking about, and I know that.
When he finished
you have no clue. You have no clue what you're talking about. Pan-Africanism. If you understood it, then it's obvious. Okay. And Pan-Africanism is the same thing as white folks in America doing business with Europeans in Europe. No difference.
Yeah. What's good, Master Teacher?
When he finished,
BGS, what did you think about what I said?
What I think is black folks, believe it or not, will follow anything where they think there's crumbs on the table.
Pretty much.
That's why I asked Republicans that come on here, okay, where are your crumbs at, man? Because black folks ain't coming if there ain't no crumbs on the table. You can't offer us, okay, we're worse than the Democrats. That's not going to work. At least the Democrats will the meal might be, they might be offering free food and it might be, kind of pasty. The thing is, it's something. The Republicans don't offer anything. They don't offer anything solid. And basically, if you look, your boy had almost 4 years. Really, he's done things for his base, but for his black people, really, what has he done?
Absolutely nothing.
Hasn't done anything. But the thing is,
photo ops. That's what he did. He gave us photo ops.
What thing is that there's a certain thing that you have to look it up. It's called continuity of government, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the vast, like 90% of what each president will do will continue what his predecessor does. To actually do anything less, you're actually going to rip up. You could rip up like decades of precedents, and that's very difficult to do, especially with Congress.
I asked the question last week. I said, "Can like this conservative about Kamal and whatnot?" I said,
East African.
Go ahead.
East African, if you want to come up, bro, that's why I drop a link. You don't have to ask me from the chat, okay? And I asked you, did you want it dropped? And now after I drop the link, then you want to ask me all these damn questions, okay? Thomas Sowell. Every time I read Thomas Sowell, really no black person has really ever suggested Thomas Sowell to me. I can tell you right up the bat. Every time somebody suggested Thomas Sowell to me, it was actually a Jewish conservative. Why is that?
Wow.
Even black conservatives that I know never suggested Thomas Sowell to me. Okay. And when I read his book, other than a couple of books that I've read, every time because I always read forwards, right? You hand me a book, I'm gonna read the forward, because your forward introduction actually sets out your argument, right? If I can come through and I can find holes in your argument in the introduction or the forward, then I don't want to read the rest of the book. And I've read a couple of his books, and basically it's a mishmash. Now, maybe I haven't read the right books. If you can suggest me the right books, but he will get one. He would get a few facts correct, but his overall premises that I've read he's pandering, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. That's why I don't listen to him. I'd rather listen to a white economist than Thomas Sowell, and that's saying something.
Damn.
That's fine. That's just me.
So I asked the question. I said, can you name one president that has done something solely specific in regards to helping black people?
Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Nope. Actually, no. Actually, it was Eisenhower. Eisenhower, if there would be no civil rights if it wasn't for Eisenhower. None.
So we go back to
Eisenhower integrated the military, didn't he, BGS?
He integrated the military, he integrated the schools, he integrated the public workspaces. He changed a whole lot of laws, and basically he did it not only with signings and executive orders and twisting the Congress's arm. He also backed it with military might. Who you think sent the troops down?
The New Deal?
No,
he sent the troops down.
But
He sent troops down when they went
to Arkansas
to all those schools, and where all those schools and all those places to actually protect voters and protect schoolmates. He sent force down. He just didn't send money down. He sent force.
That's because y'all was messing with a military man. That's why he knew.
But he didn't have the political capital to institute federal laws to ensure, or to at least not ensure, but to make it against federal law to discriminate for employment, housing, and everything else. So maybe he didn't have the political capital. You think those were his intentions?
Well, basically, the discriminating against housing, he did it with public housing, but he didn't do it with. That didn't happen. He didn't do that. He didn't do that.
He opened the projects up. Is that what you said?
Well, he did, because that was within his purview, right? The whatchamacallit Act, the Fair Housing Act, wasn't passed till '68 with Johnson. That was after the riots in the Kerner Commission. So the thing is, one president can't do everything, but the thing is, you would not have even had it if he hadn't started it. And he was a conservative and he's a Republican, but he's also a military man.
So we're back to the principle again of setting the precedents.
Yes.
So the big issue I really want to highlight here, because I'm seeing a lot of parroting that people are making on what Nixon actually started with this benign neglect nonsense, that has been the inertia we've been riding off of since pretty much the introduction of civil rights.
Yeah, well, the riots, the Kerner Commission, and then the shift to feminism and all the other stuff actually happened in the under Nixon.
So if we identify politics as a kind of superorganism, like the Lucifer Project book kind of designates, and we go off this idea of an object in motion stays in motion until another force acts on it. If we've been moving in this direction for so long, it would take another force to start shifting it in a different direction, right?
Yeah.
So
well, the thing is that you got to remember the state has different needs than you do.
Right. So that's why I'm saying this is, I'm trying to highlight the importance of us having an advocacy, which was being argued yesterday on some real ignorant nonsense, because the whole precedence of what's being considered conservative that I'm hearing is somehow that we're supposed to take this inertia and just deal with it and somehow make changes that create this rugged individualism.
I'm so happy you said that term. I'm going to touch on that later.
That term,
without using government to change it. That
I actually looked it up, and basically that was Herbert Hoover that actually introduced rugged individualism. He tried introducing. Guess what happened after he tried to introduce it?
Got the depression.
You had a depression. It failed. It failed.
So isn't this the difference between someone trying to isolate cells in a body and have it function like it's part of a body at the same time, and the organism just dies because you're not an individual aspect?
It's like putting your cells on drugs. They never sell on drugs and diluting them. There's no such a thing as rugged individualism. It never has been. People don't exist that way. Independence and independent freedom and all that kind of stuff was bullshit, man. It came out. Even Quigley said that kind of libertarian and liberal thought was a failure. It doesn't work.
So I just want to use a single example, and I'll leave that alone.
Go ahead.
A lot of people have this idea that a Ronin is a samurai that just is of its own volition by himself doing whatever. But the whole process of being a Ronin is so that you can be hired by a lord eventually, meaning that even a Ronin by themselves is doing so in the context of realizing that, one, they're a satellite to the system they're connected to, because with no system, there is no Ronin. You just have an isolated cell, meaning you can't be an individualist without a system you're connected to, period. That's supposed to be common sense.
Yeah,
I don't know why this is so hard to understand.
Because people haven't lived it, and you're right. Because I'm that person, but you're right. You know, we agree on this. I'm ambivalent toward this election. I don't really care. I can't see anything making anything much of a difference. When I see all of this talk.
Hold on, let him finish. Come on,
when I see and you hit the nail on the head. We agree for once.
Who?
Well, not for once.
Me and you?
Yeah, that's something. And that's something.
We agree all the time, Beasley. We agree from the same hood. You know. We agree all the goddamn time.
Well,
yeah, okay. Politically, okay.
No, because I'm ambivalent towards this as well. But also, I was looking for my book. I read the best argument I ever read against Black conservatism, because basically conservatism, and of course there's a bunch of definitions, is keeping things the same.
Yes.
Not being progressive, not moving forward.
Yeah.
And for Black,
that's exactly what it is.
All right. So I got one right.
And basically,
let me finish, please. Okay. And that for Black people to think like that in America, where you don't want change and you don't want things to progress, it's different. It's ridiculous, because we'd still be in Jim Crow, we'd still be in slavery. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And Cornel Weston, I just couldn't find the book because I was going to read from the book, but I remember.
The master good to us.
But the thing is, you can read the conscience the conscience of a conservative by the man himself, Barry Goldwater. He says that. Okay. He says that he believes in states' rights. Okay, that goes all the way back to the Andrew Jackson. Okay, which is in the 1812, right? What Andrew Jackson was 1820, 1830. Yeah. So basically, that's states' rights. Okay, that's That goes all the way back. So he still believes in that. A lot of which a lot of your Southerners, which is why you have uh, uh, the what is it called, the Southern strategy, basically. When time you believe in states' rights and that kind of stuff, basically you appealing to Southerners. That's where the Dixiecrats came from. That's how come a lot of your Dixiecrats became Republicans down south, because you talk in their language, and it believes in throwing back the things the way that they were.
Shout out to Malcolm X for that speech, by the way. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you read the books, they tell you what they mean. If you read the books, you don't have to guess.
I believe in states' rights, but I also believe in federal mandate in order to keep these states that you would. Okay, like take Colorado for instance. They have legalized marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a state thing. That's an individual state situation.
Yeah,
that's fine. But the federal mandate says that you can't suddenly start locking people up and forcing them into labor camps in order to mine the marijuana field or whatever you might have out there, like state sanctioned labor, forced state sanctioned labor or whatnot. That's a federal mandate. You can't do that. So if you want to have states' rights, you can go ahead and have states' rights, but it has to be to the progression of all through civil liberties and civil rights and civil obedience. Outside of that, now you can't violate human rights laws, labor laws, etc. Things that are frowned upon. No, can't do that. Federal mandate says no. But everything else, knock yourself out.
Yeah, but that's why they came in with the idea of states' rights, because states wanted to do things outside the Constitution. That's kind of what states' rights mean. States' rights not to follow what the federal government says.
States' rights. States' rights is really a very complex, complex issue, and states' rights is mixed in with not only laissez-faire liberalism, but also slavery, because because basically much of the southern United States is a fucking swamp, right?
Yeah.
And you can't go ahead. And you can't grow very much. There's certain crops that you can grow, but they're really labor intensive. And really, if anybody's been in a swamp with the bugs and the mosquitoes and the diseases, you have a very short shelf life. And most of the white indentured servants are either died or refused to go down there and work. Okay, so the only way that the South and the United States itself was going to be profitable is with chattel slavery. It's the only way it's going to happen. And basically, I'm actually learning this from the American slave codes. Okay, this was negotiated, and it's what states' rights actually came from that. Okay, and South Carolina and Virginia was at the forefront of freaking states' rights. Okay,
and I want to corroborate with that. There's this book I just picked up called White Trash that really breaks it back. I didn't, and I'm reading that alongside the Richard Sachs. The implications are interesting when it really shows the intention behind the formation of the colonies and how they were able to form the political equilibrium to get these folks to cooperate.
Yeah.
Because first they had to bail them out from everything falling out. Like the bottom fell out of everything. Yeah. And then when they patched this up with this, goods thing and revamping the vagrant system, they really did have to make a series of compromises just to even get them to really cooperate as colonies down the line. And a lot of that skeletal work is left over in what became the Constitution, later on. Yeah. And I think that's a critical area people don't pay attention to understand where this political system came from.
But really, for the most part, states' rights was really killed by Lincoln.
Oh yeah.
The Civil War basically killed most of what we think of as states' rights.
So they put this thing together. They did the Constitution in 1789. There was a war. There was the War of 1812. So the system that they put together the groups they put together were really incompatible, and it completely fell apart. Where 500,000 of them, or 500,000 people had to die. And one side tried to get away from the other. That's something I never thought about it like that.
It's really South Carolina. Well, all the wealth was in the South for the during that time, right? Most of the wealth was in the South because all your exports, your raw material exports that you got money from was actually in the South. And South Carolina and the South, and Georgia and those kind of places didn't like the tariffs that were being passed.
Right.
That's and since they didn't really need the army anymore, because the reason South Carolina joined Union in the first place is because it had the British from the coast, it had the Spanish from the South, and basically slaves escaping, basically their labor force escaping into Florida, stuff like that, and they needed protection, so that's why they signed up. Yeah,
Outnumbered and surrounded.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to address the economic part of conservatism a little bit, and just the idea that this, like when we said rugged individualism, do for self, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, start your own business in an era where Jeff Bezos just hit $200 billion fucking dollars. Niggas think that you just gonna wake up one day, invest $3,000 in a business, and you're gonna be up and going against Jeff Bezos when the Waltons can't even fucking touch Jeff Bezos online right now. This should just be making my brain want to leak out my ears when I listen to niggas with this. I was reading something that said that almost there. That entrepreneurship is at a 40-year low, and that's across the board around the country. So if entrepreneurialism is at a 40-year low, what the fuck are the rest of these YouTubers talking about?
Fantasy.
The thing is, individually in their little bubble or their pocket, they might be doing well, and there are going to be some. Even during the Depression, there's people that did well, but the nation as a whole, not so much. Okay.
Right. There's always some exceptions.
But if you got blinders to the whole rest of the world around you, everything's anecdotal. And then, they want to take their immediate environment and then superimpose it on everything else on some, well, in order to get from point A to point B, I got to go half the distance, right? But if I go half the distance to that, I got to go half the distance to that. And meanwhile, you're spending 3 hours listening to them talk about how you can't go from point A to point B. And here we are going from point A to point B because we did not lose sight of the fact that we're not in a vacuum. We're in a whole functioning country that has not just issues here domestically, but abroad and global. And each of these things have a field of influence. That's why we call it a sphere that distort, change, and alter the way things get back to you ultimately. People act like just because they don't see them, they don't exist. And that's very immature for an individual that's calling themselves an adult. Go ahead.
They see them, but they ignore them.
There's a fancy term for that the guy gave. I wrote it down somewhere. I can't think of the term, but yeah, you're right. And I wish I could remember that shit.
But I can appreciate imagination and trying to come up with ideals, but there's too many people trying to skip corners or even trying to just speak their way in it, but not really willing to do the work. That's my issue. They're feeling like if I don't do the work, then I'm hustling. I got my way where I can cut corners, and it becomes more to where the ideals are like what 2, 3, 10 years. And I'm like, ain't nothing going on. That's what I've been listening to.
We have ideals and somebody touched on this, like without actually paying attention to what's going on on the ground. So remember, I'm not that old, but I was born in '86. But in the '70s, when the Black family really accelerated and disintegrated, you had all the character assassinations towards Black men. But fast forward 40 years later, now it's happening to white boys left and right. And now everybody's like, well, maybe it's the economics. Maybe it's because white men can't afford to maintain marriages. But when it was happening to us 40, 50 years ago, it was character flaw. You have some problem, trying to be a husband and a father. So Black people are still on that, well, it's on us thing. And there's nothing for me necessarily wrong on personal responsibility. But personal responsibility in a vacuum without actually paying attention to the world around you is dead. And that's why you see so many young people like 40 and younger, 35 and younger. They don't want to hear nothing elders have to say. And that's why we gravitate to people like BGS, because at least this is an older brother that's saying something that sounds real. It's not just some pride, jacking off people by actually low-key insulting them like a lot of our YouTube, brothers and sisters do. where that fake constructive criticism that's actually insulting. That shit never worked on me when I was a kid, so I don't know how it worked on the rest of these adults.
Well,
If I
actually, it's a failure on white
if
people. I'm
I
sorry.
understood what they're saying,
Go
the
ahead. I'm
thing is,
sorry.
the thing is, they keep talking about their conservatives. So you ask them questions, and then you go one layer deep, and they get mad and start cussing.
That's a yeah. You hit the nerve. I mean, the nail on the head on your recording. You know, if you're conservative, what's with the emotion?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
do
zero.
understand that when you get somebody that starts like I put it like this, a lot of people just regurgitate other people's thoughts and talking points, and then once you try to get them to go deeper, that's when the insults, okay, and the emotionalism comes out because they're not intellectuals, they're just bottom line thinkers. Now, going back to
Character.
what the guy said about right character, piss poor character and intellect. Going back to what the guy said, like unfortunately, this whole situation is a problem that white men created, and not us because we doesn't have the power. They had the power, but they created this problem by bending too much of the knee to their women, which of course we know how it trickled down to us. But their biggest problem is that they gave women way too much power, okay, and way too much say so as far as legal recourse. So we have this situation right now that you spoke of where families are now torn apart, where if you get married, there's a 50% chance that you'll get a divorce and you will not be the one that initiates it. Okay. You'll go home to a dear John. And
Yeah.
just like the opening of the
Yeah.
show, he packed his bags. He stood out and looked at his, beautiful home and was living in a hovel.
Okay.
Right. While Jody was coming to visit his wife and moved in with his kids.
That
Yeah.
can happen.
Yeah.
So BGS, using Booker T. Washington as an example, wouldn't you say the idea of the Tuskegee Institute in and of itself is a progressive idea?
Yeah, it actually is.
So why is it that people classify him as a conservative?
Because
that's
they
nice.
they redefine conservative. Conservative is a laissez-faire liberal, which he was. Okay.
There we go.
In other words, they're liberals, but they just put a conservative tag on it. They don't know. They actually don't know what a conservative actually is. They just get a few talking points from Fox, and okay, that's what a conservative is. No, it's not. That's why I played one of the most educated, staunch conservatives, which is Max Boot. And I really don't particularly like Max Boot because he is a right-wing conservative, but he's telling you what the conservatism he actually grew up with. Okay, that this is coming from Barry Goldwater. Okay, he actually said what a conservative is. That's coming out of a Yale graduate, okay? Somebody that sits on a Council of Foreign Relations board. He knows what a conservative is, and he actually said it. The Council of Foreign Relations is actually a conservative organization, okay?
Let me ask you this, everybody. Let me try to word it right. And I'll just put it out there. I'm just noticing I'm ambivalent towards this political shit. I don't care one way or another. I'm going to have to do what I'm going to have to do. And I don't know if it affects us that much as we think, but I'm seeing all the attacks on the Democrats for obvious reasons. I understand.
They have bad candidates. Nobody's going to vote for that shit, man.
But what's the alternative?
The alternative is what you basically
the devil you know.
The devil that you know. So basically, at the end of the day, there's not going to be much that they can actually do because one way or the other, either Trump has been forced into a socialist reaction, which is the stimulus and all the other stuff he's doing. That's all socialism. Yeah. Because he has to do it. Okay, you're not gonna get very much more from the Democrats. That's not much more to get.
It's not that you're gonna get more.
People tend to forget exactly how pleasant.
Go ahead, Bit of Truth. Go ahead, baby.
Let's be honest. Let's really be honest, because we seem to keep overlooking the whole presidential selection process.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter who we vote for. The next president has already been selected. Everything else is
Exactly.
just political theater. And when I
Um,
tell people,
You have a
huh?
menu, okay? You have a menu. You have a column A and column B. And if you haven't been vetted, then you don't get on the menu. Just like you work at you go into a restaurant. If that food has not been vetted, you cannot eat that somebody else's food in that restaurant. Okay,
what
column A and column B. You pick from the menu.
I don't.
wouldn't the Democrats be the more familiar venue? And let me ask you this as well.
Uh huh.
We know that the previous election was
Okay.
meddled with
No.
by the Russians.
And when
Okay,
it comes to
Oh,
the
hold on, Bay. Hold on.
we know that it's been established, okay, that it's almost a given that the previous election was
Mhm.
meddled with on social media, okay,
Okay.
and
The previous
the previous election, 2016.
and who did it?
They said the Russians. They said the
No, they
Russians.
didn't. Bullshit.
This
It
was
was,
not.
that's
This was
it
not
was the
true.
deep state. It's
Pardon
the
me?
DOD. The DOD. Mike said that back when it happened.
Yeah, that was our first interaction. BGS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike said it back when it happened. And I said it's either the Russians, because the Chinese didn't have any interest in it one way or the other, right? Had to be us or the Russians.
Well,
Go ahead.
And Mike said, and Mike had evidence that it may have not been the Russians.
okay.
Okay.
It may
He said way
have
back
been the
then.
Russians
And,
and the people.
and Mike is in the position to know because he
Okay,
works.
and I'm not arguing that at all because I don't know.
Okay.
I'm talking about what I've
Okay.
heard.
Well, go finish your thought.
Okay, and
So
it
Big
was
can jump in.
and
Oh, Big dropped off.
and it makes sense because it's the deep state people, the intelligence agencies that are telling you that it was the Russians. So who's to say they're not doing the same thing now to push Trump in office? And why would they be pushing Trump in office? How do they benefit?
They who says they are?
It's not so much that they put Trump in office. If you go back to Trump's campaign, I'm sorry to jump in there like that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
They said the Trump campaign manager said that when the results came back, they said, "Oh shit, what are we going to do?" Because they never
I heard about that one.
Yeah, they never actually selected a cabinet because
Yeah.
this was supposed to be just a stunt, and it actually came back around that the electoral vote got them in. So what I'm saying is, I mean, the deep state plays a significant role, but in this campaign, this is something different. This is something they haven't anticipated.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mike. If he had selected Susan Wright as his running mate, do you think the deep state would have got back into it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
That's who I thought he was going to pick.
We probably would have. That's what we
Let
wanted.
me say this one thing, because it seems to be that people forget that when you're voting for a quote candidate, you're not just voting for the candidate, you're voting for the cabinet as well.
Yes.
Right.
I really want people to understand that. And people forget that we've got two other levels of counterbalance in the federal government. You do have the judicial branch, which people ignore, and you do have the legislative branch, which people woefully engage in. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that we have C-SPAN and certain things are put out there lately, especially, due to the COVID situation, people do not consider that those checks and balances offset things. I mean, yeah, we have this whole deep state degrees of separation dynamic, but things still in a relative term do need to engage. And that's just on the federal level. People are not paying attention to how that boils down to the state level, your electoral college weight, which determines what might be able to get pushed on the House of Representatives level, because that matters when you start breaking things down to the county level. Like, I don't think let him finish real quick, and then you jump in. All I'm saying is I want people to keep all of that in mind while they make mention of these things at the very top level. That's all I'm saying. Okay, go ahead, Archer.
Yeah, but Nameless, the problem with your statement comes not to people. It's not that they willfully ignore it. Is that they don't understand how the system operates fundamentally.
Bernard Riley didn't know the three branches of government.
They don't understand how it operates.
Bernard Riley didn't know the three branches of government, and he's shouting me down and telling me I sound like
so it's like watching.
Let Archer finish because you guys talking each other.
I'm just saying, I only want one quick analogy. It's like watching, and it's like a chick watching an NFL game and seeing the referee throw the flag, and she's not knowing what the hell's going on, but she's like, "Did we win?" Like, no, we just got a penalty and we're about to lose. Like, they don't understand why things happen, how they happen, and how it affects the whole overall system or game. We don't, as a group, Now, when I say as a group, I'm not even talking about America, because America has a problem with this overall. But just as Black people, we are very politically lazy
Yes.
and ignorant
Yes.
when it comes to the system.
Yes.
So how long do we sit here and literally get exploited on? Because at the end of the day, that does fall on us, even if we do try to educate ourselves, because that was the whole point that Claude Anderson was trying to point out to us in Powernomics, right?
Yeah. And you know what? The thing is that, you know, and that's why I played Dr. Ronald Neal's video. He never said to vote for either side. He said be independent. Actually, get something for your vote. Basically, if you're going to give your support, get something for it. Don't just throw yourself behind a freaking ideology, okay, without understanding what the policies are, which is something MOT was trying to get across. Now, me and MOT don't always agree, but the thing is, one thing we do agree, MOT is actually a conservative. Okay, he's actually a conservative, but he knows when there's a fake one around. But as far as the Democrats, what has Biden and Kamala Harris actually offered as far as policy?
Nothing.
During 2 years.
A record-breaking situation where you've got 5% of Black folks living in San Francisco, and they make up the incarceration rate that's damn near 5 times higher than anybody else.
What I'm saying is, what policies have they offered as far as running? Have they offered?
Right. 3 hot to the cot.
I don't know.
Have they offered it?
I'm waiting for it.
They haven't offered anything. In fact, Jamal Thomas, who's a progressive, he hates Trump, hates his guts. Right? Guess who he dislikes even more? Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're not offering anything.
Well, see, that's what MOT was saying. Policy, right?
Yes.
But see, we've got rebuttals that are being done in the form of, well, you're just asking for a handout, which demonstrates a clear lack of understanding of what the purpose is supposed to even be there.
In other words, you just got $10 trillion of motherfucking handouts to save the goddamn country. What the fuck are you talking about? A goddamn handout? Shut the entire fuck up. You would not have an economy if they didn't do that shit. Shut up.
I'm just trying to figure out last night. MOT lost. Are you kidding me?
Well, because
it's popular vote, right?
The popular vote.
Who's in that
vote, right?
Well, the thing is, they're conservative.
I just came in. I just jumped in to troll them.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
I jumped in to troll them.
Who's listening?
That's why I jumped in to troll them, because and basically we had him admit, you know, about, because we actually talked about, he asked me how come I left the Bernard Riley show, and I told him, I said, because I said, I'm not going to sit there and listen to people actually agree about a Black man being murdered by a uniformed cop on camera.
And then compare it to Black.
And then he said, "Oh man, we should go out. You know, that's okay. We need that kind of stuff. We need to go out and kill all the Pookies and Ray." I said, "Then you're not a conservative, sir.
Yeah,
conservatives believe in law and order.
You're
not conservative.
You're a fascist.
Sound more like a Nazi.
Yeah,
that's a fascist.
They're not even that. They're miserable liberals. They're not right. Their whole conservative perspective is against Black people. It's never against what white people are doing. The handouts that white people get during COVID, the stimulus checks, those conservative white people are not turning back their checks to the government.
No,
but they don't have a problem with that. They only have a problem with UBI stimulus checks coming for Black people because they assume that Black people have to do things in a non-American way.
Neither are those. All in red states that do all those checks and the stimulus unemployment went to. Mm-hmm. I don't see those so-called conservatives actually turning back their checks. I don't see those red states turning down the Affordable Care Act that gives them health insurance. Okay, they're not doing that. Just because you think you're a conservative doesn't mean that you don't accept socialism. In fact, if you go to Investopedia talking about is United States socialist or capitalist, right? It's gonna guess what's gonna come back. United States is a mixed economy with a capitalist market system and a socialist social system. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a mixed economy. Okay, you're not 100% capitalist. It's not pure capitalism.
No,
nobody wants to be pure capitalism.
Well, I mean, they are socialists. I mean, they are conservative. They're conservative till shit hits the fan, And
No,
then
they're
their
not
whole
conservative.
They're,
They're not
they're
conservative at all.
liberals. Yeah,
They're,
they're not
they're
conservative.
liberals. They're miserable liberals. They're mad that the party has gone in a way that doesn't allow them to express their grievances, and that's where their anger is. So that's why when they talk about feminism in black women, they never talk about the white women who are feminists too, because the conservative women who support feminism, they're not going to give up their benefits of feminism, and so these guys are not going to go after those women. They're only going to go after black women.
So here we go with this being literally dipped completely, just dripping with the Southern strategy, like we said earlier.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Mike hit the nail on the head, because I speak with these people. I speak with these people, and I have for years.
This is for all you conservatives. The U.S. is a mixed economy exhibiting characteristics of both capitalism and socialism. Such a mixed economy embraces economic freedom when it comes to capital use, but also allows for government intervention for public good. That's from Investopedia. Okay.
How can anybody not know that?
I don't know, man. They think too big to fail means
because they don't read.
Because they believe.
But not that you don't read. Are you that ignorant of your surroundings?
They don't know what socialism is.
Look, George Washington said, "A populace uninformed is a population enslaved." I think it speaks for itself.
I think they've been dumbed down to the point where they can't even think. The majority of us went to public schools.
They've been fed a lot like the founding fathers are heroes, and they're not.
You thought that was bad, Beasley? I'm here doing Zoom right now.
Okay, you're teaching, right? You're teaching a course.
Are you teaching a class right now?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, I gave them. I got to meet back with them at 2:15, but I got time. So
there you go.
So we invited all three of them to come to the Black Brain Trust for the Barry Goldwater piece, and we played Barry Goldwater's speech, and specifically Barry Goldwater said we don't want any blind followers within the new neoconservative movement that he was preparing, which is what they're using today.
Yeah,
and these guys did not have anything to say. They didn't have anything to say to that. They just said, "Well, what about Lyndon Baines Johnson?" Look, that has nothing to do with what Barry Goldwater is saying.
Yes,
these guys really believe that their conservatism for them started in 2016 with Trump. Trump is a liberal posing as a conservative, and you're a liberal posing as a conservative. Y'all are all just playing cosplay, and you think you can run that game on us, and that's not going to work.
Trump is the worst. Trump is the worst. Trump is not even a laissez-faire liberal. Okay.
Also, Dark Knight's here, man. Salute, fam.
He remind me of the what do you call it on History of the World Part 1?
Yeah.
King Louis.
Yeah.
It's good to be the king. He keeps turning around looking at the camera.
Trump really wants to be a fascist. That's really what Trump wants to be, but he can't. Not in a liberal country.
Those are all the world leaders that he embraces are hardline. The guy
authoritarian.
Yeah, and the guy in Turkey, he did his best to get along with the guy in North Korea. It's funny that he identifies him, and it only makes sense. He's a CEO of a privately held corporation. That means there's no board of directors. There's nobody. He doesn't have to answer to shareholders. He makes a decision, and usually they're bad decisions from what I've been looking at lately. They said he lost over one. The New York Times got his tax returns, and they're putting information out. They haven't put the actual tax returns out, but apparently he lost. Oh goodness. Some incredible amount of money where he hasn't had to pay any taxes for 10 years. His record really as a businessman is supposed to be this very, very wealthy businessman. It's failure after failure after failure. It's something else. And I don't know why they can't.
Bankruptcy though.
You got good lawyers.
Man.
That's part of the system. The system benefits somebody that's doing business on that level.
Who's trying to get in?
This is Dark Knight mentality. Hi everybody. It's like the first time I've joined any stream. I figure if I'm going to join one, I'll join a BGS one. I know it stays kind of calm in here compared to the other ones.
I try to keep the food fighting down as much as possible.
Yeah, I've noticed that. So
it's the black Chris Matthews right now.
So. Right. So I have identified myself as conservative for years, and I think
why so?
And that's the thing. the more I've listened to you and other people over probably the last maybe year I've been on the YouTube Spaces, I'm starting to waver. Like I believe in law and order. I do believe in government not having having less impact on you on your life as far as allowing you to individually make your own choices and personal responsibility and things like that. But it sounds like that's not. It's part of conservatism, being conservative, but it's more to it. And I think the more to it is what we're getting. A lot of conservative or black conservatives are missing. We're taking that one part that I just mentioned, and we're conservative, and we're ignoring or not understanding the rest of it.
Everything that you said. Guess who also believes in that?
Liberals.
The liberals believe in the same thing, man. If they would parrot the exact same thing,
So what's the difference?
The difference is what do they intervene on?
Okay.
In other words, liberals believe individual choices such as medications, drugs, lessening of law enforcement,
abortions, gay marriage.
Well, abortion. Well, gay marriage is.
I mean, but those are
far. That's really far left. Okay.
Yeah, but the right feels strongly against them.
That's what I'm saying. Is it depends. Basically, you're arguing for the same things. The thing is where left and right disagree. If our conservative, so-called liberals disagree, is what do they want the government to intervene on?
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as black people, because I'm hearing a lot of black people automatically can't be conservative. Like calling yourself conservative as a black person, you get the coon label and all that, and it's like,
do you want to bring back states' rights?
So what about Clark's talking point? That's the thing.
Come on, can you guys let me talk to the brother for a second? Do you believe in states' rights?
So that's the thing. I believe in state rights. States' right.
You want states' right and everything that comes along with it?
Okay, that's the thing. So I think the states' rights thing kind of got when slavery was being implemented by the states. That's kind of what made states' rights looked at as a bad thing. To me, states' rights is people within the states voting for their own interests and their own rights.
Okay.
Because slavery wasn't just it was states that implemented slavery, but the federal government allowed the states to implement slavery. So it wasn't just states' rights.
Why do you think they allowed those states to implement slavery, sir?
Because you had people in the government that also supported slavery.
It's called money. That's what they want.
It all comes down to money, right? Yeah.
That's what they want.
And they can do it any way they want to do it too.
In other words, the only way you can actually make money from that area is to have chattel slavery. There's no other way to do it.
Right. So in that case, then what difference does it make if we have states' rights or not? Because at the end of the day, even if you have states, like we have states now voting for, you got states that votes against gay marriage, they take it up to the Supreme Court, which is federal, and they overturn what the state said. So, it's almost like, you can advocate for states' rights and you can want states' rights, but then the overall, government is going to override that.
So you think them Confederate flags? I hope you don't live down in the South.
I live in Texas.
Right.
Hey.
Right.
This is my state.
Right.
Don't mess with Texas.
Talking like this.
Family, I'm looking at you sideways as hell right now.
Hold on a second.
I was actually born in born in Garland, right?
Right.
Okay. I was born in Garland, right? You know why we left? You know why we left? Because my crackers drove my father out of Texas. Okay.
Now,
okay. Do you really want states' rights in freaking Texas, man? Really?
But does states' rights automatically mean
we're
going back to slavery?
Yes. Not slavery. Not slavery, but the thing is, you want them Jim Crow laws to come back.
So even today, you really think that they'll be able to bring back?
You can't help. Okay, one a freaking time. Can I have a conversation with the brother? Do I have to drop everybody else down? Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So and you can call me naive, call me whatever, but I don't see I don't see how a state having states' rights is going to automatically put us back in Jim Crow. I mean, that's to me, I can't draw that line from states' rights to Jim Crow.
So you trust it. You're gonna trust yourself in the South with Texas. They have a history of this shit. To good old Texas white folks and put yourself in their hands.
But
without the intervention of the federal government.
I mean, yeah, because yeah, because I don't see even. I mean, you have white people today that are not trying. I mean, they're not promoting or for Jim Crow laws.
Okay.
I mean, time has changed. I mean, back then when it was acceptable to do those things, I understand. But nowadays,
you know what? The Jews saw the exactly same thing in Nazi Germany. That the Germans were progressive.
Yeah,
the Germans were actually the Germans were accepted because they were the bankers, they were the businessmen, they were the business class, they were the educated class, and they thought there was no way the Germans would actually turn on us because that history is well behind us.
They were German. They were German as well.
There's an old saying that the past is never dead and buried. In fact, it's never even past. Why do you think I don't want to go back and live in Texas, even though I got family there?
Yeah, try to find a Jew that rides a Mercedes.
Why do you think I don't want? Why do you think I don't? I refuse to live in the South. Why do you think my mother refuses to live in the South? And she basically, my father's from Texas, and my mother's from Louisiana. Why do you think they refuse to go back there and live?
Well, I mean, I understand. I mean, I'm originally, I was born in North Carolina, so I mean, I'm South the whole upbringing. So
not a whole lot of difference. But go ahead.
It's not. But that's the thing. My point of view of it is that to go back to that would have to be a completely different mindset throughout the country, because even with states' rights, the government still comes in and puts
you want states' rights, sir. You don't want a federal imposition. You want states' rights.
Can I make
you can't. Okay, so in the Constitution, wasn't states' rights? I mean, initially that was federal. Isn't federalism states' rights? Isn't that pretty much the same thing?
Federalism is no,
it's not. Okay, so maybe that's
federalism. The federal government, states' rights is the state being able to
override
outside the Constitution.
Yeah.
Can I give you a quick?
Okay, so and with that definition, because again, maybe my definition is not right. But I understood federalism being the equivalent to states' rights. Meaning anything that the government is not.
In other words, this is a teaching session, right, for you.
Mm-hmm. I've never professed to know everything.
In other words, you're arguing against something that you want us to teach you. In other words, you have no idea because you never looked it up.
Well, I guess I never looked it up, or I misunderstood it.
In other words,
understanding of it is different.
In other words, do you think that Jim Crow would have ended if states' rights was enforced?
Yes.
You do. Why?
Because the government, people's mindset about slavery and Jim Crow changed, and they petitioned the government as far as getting the amendments and everything.
When did it happen without federal intervention?
Would it have happened without federal intervention?
When did that ever happen without federal intervention?
Okay, it did. Okay, it didn't happen without federal intervention.
So in other words, you're going by wishing and hoping that the good white folks will actually come to your side and actually be fair, huh?
All right, Mike, can I ask you just a quick question? Because
go ahead.
Look at it like this. It like this. There's a reason why professional boxing leagues have credentials for the referees. If they didn't go through a standardized federal overseeing process, then fights would progress to points of it being too dangerous. So, look at it like this. The federal government serves as a referee and establishes standards. And if you ignore those standards, you could run into situations where you'd have these fights going on and people would end up getting killed. That's actually what led to the referee showing up in the first place. The federal government operates in that capacity. And we talked about this a little bit earlier when we mentioned about how government policy follows in the wake of kind of like how a ship will go past a smaller ship and the ship will follow it because it's caught in its wake. Policy works the same kind of way. If you don't change the context under which a law is placed under, it's not going to change by itself. You have to introduce another policy. That's why literally the National Guard had to show up to enforce the end of those Jim Crow laws. Even if you get back to the Civil War, you got states in Texas. Texas is a classic example. They weren't telling people that the war ended, and there were still people that were stuck on the plantation because they didn't have the forced National Guard coming in and making them say, you know, they're free now. Let them get off the property now, or we will take them from you. Right. So this is an aspect of human nature we're talking about. It's not opinion. You need to have that federal government oversight to serve as a fail-safe to make sure that you have the rule of law working as intended. Otherwise, it's kind of like we see this in the banks, right? Where people will, what's something I could think of where they regulate, it's not so much a free market, but a regulated market where they don't let certain things get too high or too low.
No, you're talking about the fractional reserve rates, high or too low?
Yeah, they won't let them get so out of control. Like you've got to have something like the Federal Reserve System to come in and counterbalance that. You know, if you take that away, then currencies would crash. BGS also talked about that. You know, ironically talking about rugged individualism. You know, if we didn't have those fail safes, there would be no stock market. You know, so you've got to keep a lot of this in context. Yeah, oils and diamonds are another commodity that follow that dynamics. Look at the relationship between federal government and state government just like that. And that's why, again, BGS used an excellent example of showing how Lincoln introduced this concept. You know, and there's a big conversation to be had about central banking. Thanks for bringing that up too, Mike. These are examples of how this is played out, where you've got a system that meets with human nature and why we have to have these checks and balances. That's all I wanted to say, Dark Knight.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, you know what? I was wrong about federalism. I wasn't exactly right. Federalism, the definition is a mixed compound of central government that works with regional governments, would be states, and how they work together. That's what federalism is.
And which is kind of what I was.
You were closer. You were closer. Yeah. But when I hear federal, I think the federal government. So I looked it up, and I thought I knew what it was. It's always important to look things up, even if you know stuff. Look it up to double check.
But I have a quick question.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Beasley. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I just wanted to ask the brother, because he kind of said it a little bit. I want them to go more in depth. What are the indicators that you think that Jim Crow wouldn't happen again if state rights return? I mean, I'm just want to know some examples, especially you're in Texas and you came from North Carolina.
What part of Texas you live in, north or south?
I live in north.
Okay, so right around the Dallas area.
Yeah, I'm in Mansfield. I can tell you where I'm at.
Okay, all right, man.
Arlington, Grand Prairie.
Oh yeah,
that area.
Yeah. I really don't. Go ahead.
You're right on the road to Shreveport.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yep. Exactly. You know exactly where I'm at. So you said, what indication do I have that Jim Crow would not go back? We would not go back to Jim Crow if states' rights.
Right. You know, based on the climate, especially today, and then when you're over there in Texas, or just in South in general.
I guess. Okay. So are we defining Jim Crow as, okay, you can't? I'm going to tell you can't eat here. Blacks only. You got to use a certain restroom. Right. Sit on the back of the bus, or a certain person.
Or leaning that way. You're leaning that way. You can't live in this neighborhood because you see that now all the time. You get the
well, that happens already. As far as people can't live in certain neighborhoods, it
happened already. That's with a strong federal government, right?
Right, but that's subtle. So I guess my thing is how blatant are we talking? As far as I'm hanging a sign that say whites only. Yeah, whites. I find that hard. I don't. Yeah. Nobody's gonna go for that. I mean, we got people. We got people, justice warriors running around counseling. Everybody left and right for saying anything that they even can.
Under what authority can they do that?
under the authority. It's not even really authority. It's under a mindset that okay.
No. There's an authority that they're actually using. It's called federal law, sir.
What's the federal law that's
discrimination? Title IX, a whole bunch of federal laws and mandates.
Right?
Constitution, right? Whole bunch of federal laws that come down to actually enforce that. And if they don't get their way, they can actually appeal to the federal government, right?
Even more than that.
Yeah,
even more than that. They can complain to federal agencies that will send in people that will stop and restrict it right away, and it's a crime. It's a crime to discriminate.
You know what? I'm getting old, you know, and
Right.
And I'm getting kind of tired of it. So, and black folks have forgotten, especially, bro. I don't know how old you are, man. You need to
48.
You need to go back and talk to the old folks, man.
Well, that's not who I thought I was talking to.
I hear you
okay.
are. Yeah, I am an old person. I'm talking about your old folks because
he's 12 years older than you. That's not even a generation.
In other words, I'm talking about folks that had actually really had to come up through it, like my father, right? Through Jim Crow, Texas, man.
I'm getting frustrated. I just want to say this one thing because this is blowing my mind. Dark Knight. What on earth happened last year where the black man was sitting in his own apartment and was shot by an off-duty female police officer, and the only thing she had to say was, "Oh, I thought I was in the wrong apartment."
To my Amber Geiger.
What happened to her, and where did that take place?
That took place here.
Right.
Yeah.
So
right after that, there's a lady that got shot by a cop through her own window playing a video game.
Okay, so
area.
what are we?
So
what is that? You're telling me that? Yeah.
She only got 10 years. What is the
Hold on, let me finish the point because I don't want this to delve off into the classic talking points Fox News brings up. The issue I'm bringing up is number one, there was a black police chief. There's a whole system involved with that. There was a black female judge. Whole system involved with that. Look at who the jury members were. And look at the only reason why that case even got talked about like that is because they had a key witness who just magically got killed, a week after he testified on some quote drug issues. If you don't see that for what it is, being the power play that it is, they can do with federal government oversight in place already. Do you not understand that if they don't have the oversight of the federal government, this would be so much more common? Like, this isn't like a matter of opinion. This is something that happened in front of the entire country, which is why other countries look at this and go, what are y'all doing? I don't think we have that context in place right now because people are so acclimated like frogs that are being boiled slowly. We don't realize how far off kilter we already are with the systems that are in place, to the point where if they weren't here, things would definitely go back 1 degree at a time. It's not going to.
Have they really brainwashed you guys to believe that white folks have really changed that much, man? Really?
Obviously,
it's not. It is not brainwashed to believe that white people have changed. I didn't say that. I believe white people have changed.
Okay, so
me personally, I try to take people as they come to me. I don't automatically judge people. And maybe I'm a little optimistic, and maybe I'm a little naive.
We're asking, where do you get that from, man?
Where did I get it from?
Yes.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Where did I get it from?
Where you get this trust in white folks that white folks won't do this? If there are not rules in place to prevent them from doing it.
So I guess we can go back to that. So I guess somewhere with the whole states' rights thing, the whole idea of not having a government.
That's not the question that I asked you, sir.
Okay.
Where do you get the idea that white folks will not go back to their old ways if there's no laws to prevent them from doing it? That's why I ask you. Because that's what you do. That's why I ask you what you're going by, that you want to trust that this is going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know about I want to trust that.
Why do you think there's all this fuss about people voting by mail, and all of a sudden they're removing mailboxes? They're taking.
Now I haven't heard that until somebody said that here on the chat.
It's all over the news, man. It's been all over the news for the last 3 weeks.
They're picking up mailboxes. I'm old-fashioned. the bills that I don't pay electronically now, I pay a lot of them by mail.
You have to actually literally walk into the post office when it's open and actually, if you want to deposit a letter, okay, or give it to your carrier.
There's always been mailboxes all over the place, all over the country, and you know before there was an electronic way to pay your bills, you know, you write a check, you get a money order, you put it in there, but by voting that way, they're trying to restrict and pull money. Even in North Carolina, they had to sue in North Carolina because North Carolina had state statutes that they're trying to pull back some of the provision of the Voting Rights Act.
Right. Yeah.
This is what they. All right. Well, this is what they do in order to maintain power. And if you look at what's going on with the heightened racial tensions and the divide, the way they've spread even more, it's more and more reason where it's even justified in people's mind if we don't keep these people under control and get control, they're going to take over the country. They're going to take over everything. I talk to white men that don't know when I'm talking to them on the phone. They don't know that I'm black, and I hear the things that they say. I've got clients all throughout your area.
So are we going? So is the thought process that we need to have as black people to automatically assume that white people, to believe or think that white people are going to, by and large, at the majority, do not have our best interests at heart?
The thing is,
okay, go ahead.
What do you think happens? Let me just say this one thing. I will be just aligned. When it comes down to deciding if your kids are going to eat and somebody else's kids are going to eat,
right,
what do you think is going to be the action that's chosen at the end of the day? That's all I'm going to ask. And that should answer your question. But go ahead.
Not just white people. You got Mr. Fantastic here. You got Mr. Fantastic. Can't believe it what I saw. And he's not a dumb dude. But I put up something. All right, no.
You're not BGS.
That's just me.
Let me just get this spot on. And I'm not sub to him because them younger dudes, for some reason, they think because I got a couple of years on me, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know, I'm just stupid all of a sudden. But Jacob Blake got shot. They raised, you know, and that's egregious. That is so nasty and so wicked a shooting that the NHL, all sports leagues, everyone's against that. They put up a GoFundMe for him and his kids for $250,000. They raised $900,000 in one day. Okay, that's white people and everybody contributed to that. Mr. Fantastic put him something that said 900,000. He said niggas gonna look like that for new hustle. Are you serious?
Okay.
Different time to be paralyzed.
This is why I wanted conservatives on here, right? I'm trying to get down to the mindset of what you guys actually stand on. And the more I talk to you guys, the least I'm actually confident you guys will stand on anything. Do you really trust white folks that much to think that just because of the momentum that you have, because this is forced, it's actually going to maintain itself? That's what I want to ask. Who's got the air noise? Somebody in a car?
Hold on, that's not me.
Okay,
that's the police.
So if and the reason I was asking that, I kind of lost my train. So are we to trust the white people on the other side that are not quote unquote conservative?
And you can't.
That's not the question I asked you, sir. If you go back to states' right, do you trust the white people that are in Texas to have your best interest at heart? If they're
and that was going back to my definition of states' rights. States' rights to me was not okay. The states have carte blanche to just do whatever. The only reason they did that with slavery is because the government allowed them to do it.
No. States' rights means that when they say states' rights, that states' rights takes precedence over the federal government intervention. That's what it means. It's states are primary. Which is primary, federal government or the states?
Well, in states' rights, it'd be states, but because based on what the guidelines of what the government is supposed to do, based on what the Constitution said. Mm-hmm. But since we have amendments in the Constitution, basically preventing segregation, or not well,
No, it's not.
discrimination and stuff like
No, it's
that.
not. No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
Hey, BJ, can I jump in real quick?
Okay.
If it did when they signed the Constitution, how come it didn't help?
No, I'm talking not the initial, not the amendments that's been added to the Constitution.
Which one are we talking about, sir?
13.
What happened after the 13th Amendment, sir?
14. I can't.
Well,
it is slavery, but what continued after slavery, sir?
Jim Crow happened after
Jim
slavery.
Crows. Okay. So how much did it help, sir?
After Reconstruction, actually, that's what.
Yeah, after Reconstruction.
Because why was Reconstruction? They were electing black senators, black representatives. As soon as the federal government left, the Ku Klux Klan came. Well, the Ku Klux Klan was always around, but the Ku Klux Klan really rose and started terrorizing people that accumulated things. From what I've read a little bit more about Black Wall Street. There's always been envy of black financial success. The whites resent it. They really hate it. Can't stand it.
I highly recommend this book called Dirty Little Secret by Dr. Claude Anderson. The first one.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Jump in.
Hey, so here's something. I mean, I don't know if the guy's still there or not, but what he's saying over here is ridiculous. Okay, so here's a question. Do you believe that this country has a huge racism problem?
You said, do I believe the country has a huge racism problem?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the government? What is the government? Tell me what you believe the government to be.
What I believe the government to be?
Yeah.
Okay, that's. I mean,
that's probably too disparate.
Clarify. Yeah, I mean that's
simplify.
What is the role of the government?
What's the role of the government?
I think.
Protect the people, to
manage the society. It basically is what it is. The government's role is to manage society. Okay, and it's made up of a bunch of people, right? Now, all of these people that were primarily born and raised in this country, and they see and they know what's going on. Yet, what are we in the middle of right now? One of the biggest, perhaps the biggest revolt we've had in decades now. And what is it based around? Racism. So what have you seen from these individual states, especially Texas, because I live there now. I've been living there since 2003. I know a lot about Texas. I lived in Dallas-Fort Worth a very long time. So with all of these Confederate flags going around, with all of these, every indication of whiteness itself, right, and trying to keep that in place, what have you seen to counterbalance that when it comes to state rights not being a problem?
I guess I don't understand the question, because if that's going on now, we don't have quote unquote states' rights. Then,
in other words, do you think states' rights will make it better or make it worse?
Based on the definition that you're giving me about what states' rights is, then no, it would not make a difference if states just had carte blanche to do whatever they want to do.
Okay,
but
really, why?
They're not. But
even though Texas constantly talks about separating from the union, why do you think that is?
No, they talk about that all the time. It's not going to happen.
And when they're talking about separating from it, a lot of that is around stuff they want to implement that just so happens, quote unquote, to negatively affect their black community. See, here's the thing BGS is trying to get across to you. It's not an overnight thing. Okay, all of a sudden they have states' rights and then stuff gradually, just instantly flips back over to the 1920s. Stuff is done gradually. We didn't get here instantly. We got here gradually. That's one of the reasons people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, because they thought she was going to be a snake and do the stuff behind your back instead of doing it to your face.
And so she was, because she already said something about public face and private face. Remember that?
Yeah, she did.
Right. So what you have to understand here is that if we're having these problems and the federal government is keeping or somewhat keeping the states at bay. What do you think is going to happen when they take the reins off?
Okay, so yeah, I understand what y'all saying as far as that goes.
Look, I know Texas is racist.
In other words, you really trust white folks, man. You really trust
You
white
really
folks,
do.
right? You really do.
I like
I
to say
mean,
that.
it's not even about
Yes,
white or black. I mean,
yes,
I don't
yes, you do.
trust people based on what
Yes,
they've done and what they're doing to me.
no, sir. Yes, you do. You said it over and over again. You don't think that things will go back the way it was because if you actually switch from federal control to states' rights, would say, what is the history of states' rights? It's slavery and Jim Crow, sir. It's going to come back. Why are you? And so all those Confederate flags that you see flying, and the people keeping the truck, you're gonna see them on the porch. You're gonna actually see them on poles again. Okay,
They're already
it never went away. That mindset never went away, sir.
The Civil War was about states' rights. The Civil War was about states' rights.
Hold on, Charles.
Hold
on, Charles. You get in about 2 seconds.
Right. So the Civil War was about states' rights. What he has to understand is that there's not the. You said earlier, BJ has asked you a very clear question that you believe white people have our best interest in mind. Okay, explain this. Then.
I didn't say that.
You did. You did.
You did. You
I
did.
did not say I believe white people have our best interest in mind.
You did.
Okay, what was? Okay, I said that those specific words.
Okay,
you said yes.
Shorten it up, Charles.
Here's my response to you, though. If they even have any one of our best interests in mind, why is it that they've given everybody, every other group possible, reparations except us? They gave it to gays most recently. They gave it to Jews for what happened to them over in Germany. They gave it to Indians. They're giving it to Indians, right? They gave it to Asian Americans for what happened during which was it?
World War II.
Pearl Harbor. Right, in the internment camps they had over here. Why is it that they're giving it to everybody except us if they have our best interest in mind?
Yeah. Okay. All right. You quick answer, and then Charles, if you want to answer that, you don't.
No, because I think I think I asked a question that was construed as me saying that. But okay, go ahead, Charles.
Go, Charles. Jump in. You got 10 people to pass. You guys got to shorten up your answers, okay?
Oh yeah, I'd like to give the new Texas state anthem called "Don't Trust Them New Niggas Over There." But,
don't trust them new niggas over there.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, let's just take morality out of it, right? Let's just take history. If you walk into a door 11 times and somebody hits you with a brick in the face, what do you expect that 12th time to be? A goddamn brick in the face. So you're saying through the history that black people has had with white people, not just in this country, but all over the world, that they're not going to, when you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And you believe because these people got the same possibly religious beliefs as you, or whatever that you can conjure in your mind to say, hey, these people are not going to treat me badly if we go back to states' rights. When they want to secede from the country, why do they want to secede from the country? To do what?
Maintain slavery.
Are you asking me a question?
It was the economy.
In other words, let's say if Texas seceded in the next 5 minutes, what do you think? How do you think the treatment of black people would be?
Shout out to Mexico. Go ahead.
Remember the Alamo? Yeah. That was the Mexican version of the big payback, by the way.
Oh no, we don't read, Charles. I mean, go ahead. Let Dark finish.
No, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
I'm just asking you a question to answer.
Oh, I didn't know you were answering me a question. I thought you were just
like,
saying
what
something.
if they seceded from the Union and they became their own sovereign nation? How do you think they would treat black people?
Once again, shout out to Texas.
I don't know. Because I mean, I haven't thought about that because they're not succeeding from the Union. So I guess I haven't put that too much
asking you
that.
I'm asking. God damn it! Are those bracelets silver?
He doesn't know, man. He's trying not to avoid. He's really not trying to dodge. He doesn't know.
I mean, that bullet came right back at me, BGS.
I know, but he does. And what I'm saying is, he literally does not know. Okay, he's not trying to dodge you. He doesn't know.
Hey, wait a minute. He's been in Texas for how long?
He's been in Texas.
I've been in Texas 20 years. I'm 48 years old. I wasn't born and raised in Texas. I've been in Texas 20 years. I've lived in the South for my entire life.
The South, the black folks in the South, I'm gonna tell you, black folks in the South have a completely different mentality. They've been in the belly to be so long, they're used to it.
Frogs.
So wait a minute.
Shit, I don't know BGS. I've been in Miami my whole life, and I ain't used to this shit.
Miami. Number one, Mr. Z. Mr. Z, are you a ADOS man?
No, I'm not. No,
you
I'm
live
not.
in Miami. Miami is actually a very liberal city, is it not? Especially after the drug trade, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super blue.
It's super blue, right?
Miami's not representative of true like deep South.
Yeah,
You're talking like Alabama, Georgia,
were you born here? Were you born here, Mr. Z?
Oh yeah, born and raised my whole life.
But your parents are immigrants, right?
Yes.
You don't. In other words, Mr.
You
Z,
don't count.
Let me ask you. I'm gonna be blunt, okay? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, son. My mother. Was your mother a sharecropper, sir?
No.
Was your grandmother a sharecropper, sir?
On my mom's side, yes, but that wasn't here though.
And that wasn't here. Okay. In other words, you've never experienced, for the most part, American racism and
that old
Jim Crow.
time.
You weren't here, man. You're too young. You weren't here. You don't know what Jim Crow is. You have no clue. You have no clue. Move your ass to some small podunk town in Texas. And come back and tell me.
You can I jump in?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I heard you talking about how people say they want to trust and believe, and I'm hearing all these morality arguments, and y'all know, and you already know BGS. I'm a minister, and my whole thing is built on morality. But just take it out, y'all trust people and say we're gonna go by a case by case with. I'm sorry, past performance show me what your future performance is going to be. And if you harass my people, you harass us just because of the color of our skin. I mean, if they remove these regulations, it'll go back to business as usual. If you've been in a company of white people, especially upper echelon, they have their inside jokes.
Yep. Just think Oakland, man. Just take Oakland for instance, right?
Yeah.
Majority black cities have been gentrified, right? Okay. How many Karens and Kens pop up with those racist attitudes, man?
A lot.
And this is in a very, very, very blue state, in a liberal area, in a formerly black area, and you're getting it. You get it all over the place. You think those Karens that you see pop up, those are white people.
Yep.
And this is with federal intervention. This is with the federal government on people's necks. Okay. What think is going to happen when it's lifted? Those people, those Karens and those Kens, and that dude that went to Kenosha, Wisconsin to shoot protesters. Okay, those people will emerge.
Yep. And you talked about it with your father and being ran out of Texas. Same thing happened to my grandfather. This is why we ended up in California, in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You know, he first ran to Bakersfield, and then he went up north because they were fighting back. You know, all these little kumbaya movies y'all see and all this stuff with
That's
Dr.
just not
King,
real like that.
that's not real because most of these black men actually fought back with their fists and with guns.
You know what I'm starting to see? People are used to seeing balance on a passive level, and they don't know the difference between that and equilibrium. And I'll clue you in. The difference between balance and equilibrium is the fact that equilibrium is under pressure. I really want that to sink in. Equilibrium is two forces colliding each other to a point where they have neutralized each other in that particular instance. And you know what happens? The forces that are sustaining those forces at that equilibrium, if anything shifts, things snap.
Well, we
and that's what we're not realizing. Go ahead, fam.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Niels. I know. I was just going to point out during COVID, you can see what's going on in New York, where they were giving out masks to the white people in Central Park while they were going around arresting and beating black men over the head for not social distancing.
Wow. It's something I wanted to touch on. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to quickly add to BGS. I know I saw your last video about conservatism. You were talking about someone like a Rand Paul. Guess who's holding up the federal anti-lynching bill that they're trying to push through Congress?
I believe it's Rand Paul. But if you but basically if you want to talk about a true conservative, at least he is one. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. If he embodies it, yeah. No, I'm not. I'm saying that if you take even a conservative, not one of the crazy ones we've been dealing with lately, but just what you would consider a normal conservative, look what he's doing, blocking the federal anti-lynching bill.
Yeah.
From
It was
Kentucky.
something I wanted to touch on when it comes to states' rights. So what you, in my estimation, what you would see is we already talk about how black people are pretty much supposed to be the permanent underclass of America. That's why, by the way, the person that was mentioning the reparations that everybody else got, but black Americans haven't got theirs, that's why. Because black Americans are supposed to be the permanent underclass. That's why you don't get shit. And so the only way I see that changing, number one, through reparations, but definitely not through an expansion of states' rights. Because all the states would revert to pretty much being red states. They would all become red states towards black people. Maybe not social policy with everyone else, but when it comes to how are we going to govern our niggas, it's all gonna be red state shit.
I want all black conservatives that disagree with these particular policies and kind of stuff. Just get civil rights back. Just give it back. Hand it back. And trust white people. Look at what doing.
And you know, BJS, I'm glad you said that because I did a video on Sunday called The 1950s Nostalgia, where they embody the thought processes of white men, thinking that they had it really good in the 1950s. And I said, do y'all talk to y'all older folks in y'all families? Because I'm starting to really think that a lot of y'all was not raised with your grandpa, you wasn't raised with your pawpaw, you wasn't raised with your uncles, you wasn't raised with none of your big cousins that lived through that time. Because some stuff I be hearing talking about, we need to go back to the 1950s. I don't want to go back to the 1950s. Are you crazy?
Renaissance man, you can jump in, man. You don't have to ask, can you come up? You can jump in.
I mean, I just want that old school, fresh, that religious racism. Oh, that's and then
just stick to your ribs, right? My bad.
You know,
stick to your back.
They just smoke that shit like some chola ribs, man. That that old Baptist revival racism, man. Nothing like it, man. I love it. Give me my racism, man. God damn it. Give me my racism.
Why we're in the situation we're in now?
I can't.
My question to the panel is, do y'all think that's half the reason maybe why we're in this situation we're in now with a lot of, I want to say, because people like BGS get it, right? But I feel like once you get to like 45 and younger, niggas be having debates about white supremacy and if that shit's even a figment of our imagination. And I think half of it is because racism hasn't been like overt stomped down like it was in 61 or 55 or some shit, 43. Do y'all think maybe that's half the reason why people actually are debating the shit right now?
Well, I think
out of sight, out of mind.
So here's the thing with when it comes to that debate that you're just talking about. There's a thing especially amongst black males, where we have this thing of, well, our egos taking control of us. We don't have control of our egos. It's just like that black reverend that said he wouldn't accept reparations if they gave it to us. It's that, well, I don't need that nigga. I don't need that shit. I can do this because I'm a man. It's like, first off, we are victims. People don't quit acting like a victim. No, we are victims. Try not to admit to it, but we are victims in this country. That's what we're talking about right now. If we weren't victims, then we wouldn't have these complaints that we have right now.
Also too, I think it is when you hear these guys who are conservatives, a lot of them live in blue states. You rarely hear someone who grew up in the South like myself or MOT, someone like that, spewing these talking points. So because we know better. Because like you said, you see the South, you know what these people do.
And you're looking at.
Go ahead, Art, please.
I say you're looking at the result of, I guess the younger Gen Xers all the way down to millennials and so on. They have been sheltered from the history that they needed to know. So you have the people that were the older generation. They knew who their enemy was. They knew who was the one that was holding them back, or so to say. But
now they took the bad guy away, and then now all of a sudden we got a new bad guy. So right now the bad guy is older people. It's not white folks. It's older folks.
Yeah.
You hear that in talking points.
Yeah.
So that's the issue.
You could tell when you grew up in a household that told you the truth. I didn't know what a white person was till I had to figure it out because my parents told me in front of them as crackers. Like, oh, that's what you meant. Them crackers over there. Okay, shit. Okay, like that's how you do when you grew up in a household like that. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a Baltimorean. We're on the Mason-Dixon line. You just go to a fucking matter of fact. There are stores in the 80s where, like, my younger uncles and aunts had to fight tooth and nail with fucking skinheads in a predominantly black city. The fuck? I mean,
but that's where the ball was dropped. The ball was dropped with history.
Let me ask you guys a question, and this is just a pattern I keep saying, and I've said this before. Do you notice that the black demographic here, as we know it, seems to be the only demographic in this country that can get by without actually needing to have an agenda?
Say it again.
We're the only demographic in the United States that can get by. And when I say get by, I mean be able to give yourself housing, clothing, bare necessities, and reasonable employment without needing an agenda, economically, legally, and politically.
Yeah, because we're all over. Well,
it's hard, but we manage.
But I don't know any other demographics that can say that.
We don't all think the same, and Latinos don't all think the same.
But the Latinos have an agenda, though.
They have an agenda, and they have government policies that happen through that agenda. So, like even what Mrs. E was saying earlier, the only reason
the Latinos
is because of that.
The Latinos have as many or more. Well, I wouldn't say more. As many divisions and problems, and as black folks.
But that's not what I'm talking about, Beasley.
I know.
I understand what you're saying. Okay. I just wanted to really break it down.
Let me put it to you this way: have anybody else in this country had laws against them for having an agenda?
And there you go.
Has anybody else had the entire United States put one boot in their ass and one on their neck, figuratively and literally?
Not as hard.
On camera.
Not as hard.
And that's where I was going to, Charles. And I think that's what people need to understand. That's what I'm talking about when I say equilibrium. We literally have in the Constitution a legal definition directly addressed towards us, the Three-Fifths Compromise. And people really need to look at the context under which the Three-Fifths Compromise was even formed. And this goes back to why the Union was labeled the Union. I don't think people understand the importance of why the Union as an idea created the concept of states, which again led to the ultimate conflict we saw in the Civil War in the first place. So, it really points out to the theme that was going on last night about black people as a general, as an overall demographic need to have an agenda. We need to have a coalition. It is how you use government. We need to go and fight back these stationary fixtures that have been put in place to literally block us out. But when we describe it, that language gets instantly classified as just complaining, when all we're doing is offering a field report so that we can make plans and respond accordingly. And we never get past step one because of all the damn pushback we get from people like so-called conservatives that we're talking about right now.
That part.
The entire map. But go ahead.
Number one, it's not just the conservatives. Look, here's another reason. Do your women, the majority of your women, do they fight against you getting the jobs?
Shout out to feminism.
Yep.
Shout out to black feminism. It's just as fucking oxymoronic as black conservatism.
How do you think Obama felt? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. How do we think Obama felt, and maybe some of the other black liberals in the White House or part of the Obama administration, when that watered down my brother's keeper. Sisters were fighting against that. That's crazy. Because I remember Martin said something like, "Oh my God!" Like he didn't know it was that bad. He didn't know the gender war was that bad. That sisters would fight against that of all things.
The only black person he knew was
here's the thing
Michelle.
He said Michelle.
The only other black person, like you can tell Obama haven't been around. He hasn't been around niggas.
You study.
But have you guys paid attention? Have you guys paid attention when Obama was president? How much visceral and hate that black conservatives had towards him compared to any white president?
That's true.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's very true.
Not even just the conservatives.
Yeah. Because it wasn't that.
Cornel West and Tavis Smiley were on his ass from the very
beginning. Yeah, them two too.
They were on his ass. They were on his ass hard
because they're Hillary Clintonites. That's why.
Right. So, right.
They
were
on
his ass from the beginning. And you want to know something?
Bill Clinton a favor.
He's somebody that I couldn't be more disappointed in because Obama.
Oh.
Because I bought into the bullshit.
Oh, okay.
We all did.
Yeah, you bought the sizzle, huh?
I bought into the change.
He drank the Obama juice.
He did.
No. But I spit
y'all
it out.
did too. Don't play.
No. I spit it out right away. I was disgusted.
Right.
As soon as I spit it out. Yeah.
Wait, BGS, are you? What's your take on Obama? Were you?
Let me finish.
I was about to ask that too. Yeah. What were you thinking about Obama?
Let Beasley finish. I'll tell you.
I spit it out right away because I saw who his appointments were, and he's appointed because he was talking about change, and I knew everything that was going on. I was paying attention to everything that was going on, a lot more than I'm paying attention now. And when I saw he appointed the same head of the Goldman Sachs as the Treasury Secretary, I said it's business as usual. When I saw the way he was patting George Bush Jr. on the back on the way out, you know, I was like, oh, he's just one of the boys. Yeah. He's just one of the boys. He's not about any change. And later for all the romantic stuff, I mean, I thought the little girls were cute. I thought it was cute that there were black people in the White House. That's that. Yeah. I spit that shit out right away and had a horrible taste in my mouth.
In other words, okay, if you want to,
I don't like it because I don't like getting conned.
Yeah,
he didn't really con you, man. But
I helped con myself because
once again, the only black person. The only person he knew that was black was Michelle.
He spent 20 years in Chicago, man. He knew a whole lot of black people that had to. He had a whole church full of them. But anyway,
bullshit. Anytime he didn't even know what Red Fox was saying when he was Fred Sanford, I was like, this thing ain't black.
He did, man.
Jeremiah Wright. Come on now.
Jeremiah Wright. he was sent to Chicago just for that very reason. He was actually a community organizer when he started out, man. So basically,
because before that he was an Oreo, but still, who counts? Okay, tell you, BGS.
I mean, what I'm saying is, let's put it this way: I don't give a fuck, man. Because there's none of us in the United States that don't have white blood in us, man. There's 8 of us.
But the reason why I brought up the conservative part.
But let me finish my answer about why somebody asked me a question about Obama, right?
Yeah. What do you think?
If you guys will allow me to
policies.
Okay, I knew what Obama was there to save your economy, basically, because all the money had been drained out, and basically the rest of the world, the G20 and the rest of the world is going to throw back the dollar because they got caught cheating, and they did not want a Clinton or did not want another white person in office because they didn't trust his ass. Okay,
what do you mean they got caught cheating?
Basically,
real quick.
All you have to do is look at. You ever see the movie Margin Call? When they
I just want to know what you meant. All right, I understand that.
Yeah. I mean, the 2007, 2008 cheating. Do we have to
collapse? Right.
Collapse.
Credit default swaps, everything they were doing.
All that kind of stuff. That's called. In essence, in business, it's called cheating, is it not, Brother Beasley?
It's what it is.
It's what it is.
Right.
Okay. So basically, they were going to throw back the dollar, and so they had to select one of these two candidates. They didn't want no white guy again. They wanted to give us the black guy. And basically, Obama's first day, he went to the bank. I'm the only thing between you and the pitchforks. If you want to save your economy, you got to follow me. Okay. His job was actually make sure the economy was stabilized to get to the next frame. Okay. That's what his job.
And the way they were able to do that is through the same thing that they're doing now, is by creating money out of thin air.
Creating money in thin air.
I tried to explain this to Bernard Riley, man. They started trolling me. What's the crazy dude's name? RBR.
Oh, RBR. But man, you can't. Okay.
Well, hold on. I was like, I know who he is.
You cannot go to Bernard Riley. You know, is the.
I won't. I was like, damn. Just when I need him.
Bernard Riley show. Shout out to Bernard Riley because I think he's a decent dude. Yeah. But Bernard Riley show is like Jerry Springer. Okay.
Yeah. Oh God, you too. You see it too.
Yeah. I mean,
conservative Jerry Springer.
because you try to bring facts. You try to talk about something. You know, he's not Donahue. Let's put it that way.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good at that. I come from the Jerry Springer school. I just try to leave that Jerry Springer shit alone when I come over to Manager because it's more serious.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
I don't have to agree, but I don't bring my bullshit over here.
Blade, if you guys gonna on my channel, if you're gonna quote something, at least be accurate, man. No, they didn't leave Main Street out in the cold, but you got bailed out too, man.
Can I say this?
So BGS.
I just wish. I was gonna. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to sort of tag on to that then. So with this upcoming election, then I'm assuming obviously people that same crowd that you're talking about is going to obviously want a Biden presidency. But is he really going to be able to fix all the crap that Trump has just screwed up?
He can't fix it. Because Trump didn't do it by himself. He can't fix. Trump didn't do this, man. Trump inherited most of this shit, man. And basically, this stuff was already fucked up well beyond repairability before he even got here.
Yeah, but it was functioning a hell of a whole lot better before.
No, it wasn't. Basically, until COVID actually happened, basically it was business as usual. There wasn't that big a difference between Obama and Trump, other than the comedy during at the White House and the rhetoric.
Well, geopolitically too, him moving the capital in Israel.
You know what it seems like COVID has done? It's like COVID has managed to somehow just remove the frame from the car, and damage that's been there this whole time is finally being noticed like it's brand new for.
And you haven't even noticed it yet. We haven't even seen the real full effects yet.
It's been there this whole time.
You know what I'm gonna tell y'all, man? Is I'm gonna tell y'all this about old Trump being in the White House, right? I say this all the time. Trump is a symptom. He's not the problem.
Yes,
it's a symptom of what the problem is, right? Okay, so here's the thing. I said to my boy the other day. I said, when you look at black people and how we approach things, right? So we're talking about with a Trump presidency, and they're wondering if they'll get this shit together when Trump's in office. We're talking about COVID, the country as a whole. Are you going to get your shit together and start acting decently when we have a worldwide pandemic amongst us? The answer is no to that, right? When you look at and I'm just talking about men, when you look at the outright, upfront, and often verbalized attack on you by your women, right? And I look at this because I don't like Trump. I think he's a fucking political buffoon, right? And he's a narcissist, which is often why he just all the time is just putting his foot in his mouth. Here's the issue, though. Here's my thing. While I wouldn't vote for Trump, I do like you being able to see how people behave when the shit hits the fan. Because if this was 10 years ago, people would have laughed at you if you would have told them, if something like this happened, this is likely what you'll behave like. No, there's no way in hell we'll behave like that. You're ridiculous. We're getting all three of these things at the same time, and look how people are still fucking behaving. Do you get what I mean? And what I worry about is that if we didn't have Trump in there, see what Trump is doing, he's spreading the hate wealth amongst every damn body. Everybody's getting screwed over. I don't want it to go back almost like a magnifying glass. What I don't want is for it to be magnified too much back to black people in a real slick behind your back way, like
Like
a lot
what?
of these damn
How?
liberals tend to do, like coming up with damn like coming up with these policies where you you're
Restructure you out.
right. I like this and not calling you a nigga when you do it, or saying slavery had a
Basically, three strikes actually implemented in California first under a Republican governor and spread out. Okay.
I was gonna say Democrats joined in and playing on the tough on crime
It,
movement. It was started by Republicans.
well, basically, okay. That's why I say continuity of government. It doesn't matter. Okay. You guys think that a Republican or a Democrat is really going to make that much fucking difference, and it doesn't. It's continuity of government. He inherits a certain environment from the last president. You might get a little difference here or there in policy, but the thing is, there's some certain things that Republicans can do. There's certain things that Democrats will do. Okay, as far as getting things, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The biggest cutter of welfare was not a Republican. It was actually Clinton. Actually, Reagan actually expanded welfare, and Clinton actually cut it. So people don't go back and do their political history. It doesn't matter. Okay.
You got some very conservative Democrats, quote unquote conservative.
Didn't Obamacare? Go ahead, Beasley. My bad.
You go.
Obamacare was first. Obamacare, as we call it, was actually first initiated under Clinton.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then it hot potatoed to Romney, and then hot potato back over to Obama. It's like this is where we go at the end of the day. Like people don't understand. People haven't read Tragedy and Hope. They really do. And this goes back to having a failure of understanding of the macro and an overemphasis on the micro without knowing where the context is.
They don't even understand the micro. That's the problem.
Here we go.
If they understood the micro, then we actually build upon it.
Literally, you got brother.
You just had a Southerner, black Southerner, advocate for states' rights. For God's sake.
God damn it! Give me that old time religion. God damn it! Give me that. Give me that fucking.
Basically, I don't. Basically, he didn't want to say it. I don't believe white folks will actually go back to doing what they used to do. That's what you really mean,
right? Well, I just wish they would say, "I love Ken and Barbie. Leave me alone." I love their dirty draws. I love how they treat me. I love everything about them. Because that would end the whole conversation.
I wish a lot of Texans would actually tell them.
Yeah. Well, by the way, man, because we only got maybe 20 more minutes. So if you guys got channels you want to hit links with, go ahead and pump them. Charles trying to get to 1,000. So if you can get him to 1,000, please.
Yes, sir. Please get it there because we'll be talking shit. Smoking cigars, drinking liquor, hanging with my niggas like usual.
Charles, this is the whole reason why you've got to talk about your initiative more often. I mean, I think it's important for us to at least have that degree because we need to reconstruct our warrior culture.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know what you're doing. StreamYard's on, but go ahead and pull up your PDFs, man, and go through it point by point.
Seriously,
I'm gonna have to because it's. See, this reminds me of like when my father and mother used to tell me. See, a lot of these guys, and this is the bad part about having children so damn young. For a lot of your parents, you got to remember, like guys like BGS and my parents, when they went to school, they were segregated. Mm-hmm. They actually went. They literally saw with their natural born eyes, whites only.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't we go over this side of town?
Yep.
I mean, Baltimore basically brought the country redlining, and it still happens to this day. How you could be a block or 2 blocks away from a $70,000 house to a $400,000 house, same architecture and every damn thing. See, I really wish they would just say what Texas' real motto is hang 'em high. And just say, oh, well, these good white people. See, this is the mentality of a lot of these guys who say they're conservative, even though they don't know what a conservative is. A conservative will tell you can only have 2 children. A conservative will tell you can only get this job. You qualify here. You can't go outside of this range. That's true conservatism. It's almost a dictatorship. That's pretty much it.
when I was in Cincinnati at the barber shop. That's back. I don't know if you guys remember. This was not in the '90s, and I was there for a while on business. And that's an interesting state because the black folks there are pretty conservative. They really are, church going. But the talk was about Marge Schott. I don't know if you guys remember who she is. She was the owner of the Cincinnati Reds, and
Yeah, I remember that.
she dropped the N-bomb repeatedly. So
Yeah.
she's like a pariah in my world. And the barber there said, "Oh, Marge ain't that bad." I said, "Come on, man, for real." I didn't say too more because I didn't want to offend him, but Marge ain't that bad.
Okay,
She good white folk.
he who
Right.
agrees with fire, please do not use all caps in my chat, because I don't know who you are, and you may or may not have those privileges. So please respect the chat. Okay.
Hey, y'all know something? The younger brother asked earlier. He was like, you know what? Why don't they just admit that they love Ken and fucking
Yeah.
Karen and just?
Yeah.
Here's the problem: is that we don't typically go after them dudes. They come over to these spaces. They come find us, and then they come find us with crap. They're not even logical. What that guy was saying, it was Millie Mouth. It didn't even make any sense. It literally made no sense what he was saying. Like, even today, this is just in the past couple of years, they've been finding neighborhoods where it's in the contract that they've written that you cannot sell to black people. Apartment complexes where they're saying you cannot lease to black people.
And yesterday, that goalpost was moved a lot.
Oh,
A lot.
man.
Where
I
at?
said,
Where was the
damn.
move at?
That damn debate.
Man,
The
that
freaking
debate
strategy-
never ended.
MOT's debate, yeah.
the stratosphere,
Oh,
man.
y'all still watching?
But
Dude,
I was
made
saying that.
It was profit of thought.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I was saying, like, that's that edgelord shit. That's that I just want to be edgy for the sake of being edgy. And to be edgy in the black community is to be like, well, if 85% of niggas are going that way, I'm gonna go the other way, even if that shit's gonna make me fall off a fucking cliff. Like, nigga, we all got that cousin that that just is contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. He go to one white school and like he swear he's that guy now. Everybody has that family member.
But you know what the problem is? Let's be real. Y'all come in for a moment. A lot of these people that want to talk like that, honestly, they just need to go to bed, go to sleep, get some good rest, and try it again in the morning, because they know good and well it's not that easy the way they trying to portray it as. I'm like, like what you're saying, they being portrayed just because. Like they're doing it for shock factors and views. You know what I mean? I don't even think they're really believing what they're saying. I honestly do. Like Candace Owen, I believe she know that it's ridiculous stuff to come out of her mouth, but she getting paid for it. Same thing with ABL. Same thing with all these people. The only person I believe that really believe what they're saying is Brandon Tatum, and I can see it in his eyes. They really believe it. He believe it to his heart. If you look in his eyes, like there's some people you can see that they're programmed, and you can see the cooning making them do robotic moves.
What about Jesse Lee Peters?
Isn't he the cop?
He's for a check too.
Yeah, he the cop.
Jesse Lee Peters is for a check. You can go back and find it, and you'll see him in the 90s.
I would love
actually being pro-black.
I would love to speak to Mr. Tate.
He's for a check, but I think he honestly believes he pushes a hard line.
I would love to speak to Mr. Tatum.
Yeah,
the problem
I
with
think
this
that
whole
nigga's slow.
the problem with this whole thing boils down to the fact that at the end of the day, you're taking a low resolution picture of something and you're blowing it up to the point where it's starting to look like SpongeBob and crap. And you just took a picture of a countryside and it's subject to the telephone game. So people parrot these points out of context. They feel right to them, but they have no information that they can compare to, and they're able to warp what they're seeing in their own actual lives to fit that narrative. And a lot of people run around here believing it on some anecdotal, personal experience. And if you find enough people that have a similar experience to that, because they're depending on outside sources for their information and not really experiencing it and doing the research, then this is what you get. I think I'm not trying to discount the idea of people just being contrary and trolling. I think that's exactly what makes views for a lot of people. But the problem is the ripples they make as a result of that, because they view these individuals as authority figures on the matter. And it shorts us in the long run. And it just creates these amplified pools of ignorance that get us nowhere when it comes to making an agenda.
And he had a following. That kind of
that
stuff
no
has a
resolution
following.
picture is on purpose.
And
Oftentimes, these people have a better example. That no resolution picture is on purpose. Oftentimes, these people have a better example that go visual.
Somebody got there.
I muted him.
YouTube. Each go again.
I said, can you hear me now?
I hear echo.
I said, often that resolution picture you're talking about, that's on purpose. It's like willful ignorance. They could see more. They just refuse to.
Yeah, that's what it is. They refuse to. And the thing about it is, just go ahead and say it. I love Ken and Barbie. Just say it.
MOT was about to bust. Oh, go ahead, fam.
God damn it, BJ! I love Karen.
He was about to bust a pop a vessel last night, man. That dude. I feel bad.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me now?
And MOT's a conservative. He was getting mad.
He been going crazy lately, man.
I like Brad. You know, somebody brought up Candace Owens, and I was thinking to myself, you know, it's bad because that mass murder in New Zealand referred to her in his manifesto. So let me get this right. A white man halfway around the world went on a murdering spree and referred to you, a black woman in the U.S., in his racist manifesto. And people don't understand what the problem is with this weird form of black conservatism. Come on, man.
She's one of the good ones.
I didn't know exactly. I don't know who any of these black conservatives are that you talk about.
She's Charlie Kirk 2.0. She's wannabe Charlie Kirk.
I just checked today on Candace Owens. I don't know Stanton. I don't even know. I don't want to hear them because it irritates me hearing their bullshit. You know. I guess when you get old like us and you've heard the bullshit before, you don't want to hear it anymore. But I went and checked her out. She's not that good. She hits the talking points, but she loses her cool. She's screaming and hollering. I think the latest thing.
You don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
She's almost comedy. They gotta find. That's why apparently they didn't let her speak at the Republican convention. And
she was pissed.
I'm looking for that, but they say she just comes completely unhinged.
Yeah, she comes.
Yeah, completely unhinged.
She swallowed the Kool-Aid and poisoned her.
But you know what? My people, I did everything, and I didn't even, and it wasn't no butter on my last biscuit.
Kim Clayton is the new one.
Last honey packet.
You know what's
there's a new one named Kim Clayton.
One time.
You know, I just want to say there's a new person named. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said she's swallowing a lot more than Kool-Aid. That's the problem.
I didn't say what flavor it was.
But you know what's so funny?
The safe word is pineapples.
You know what's so funny? She didn't get invited. She didn't get invited to the conservative convention, and she was so upset about it. She was losing her mind, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they didn't invite me." But she was mad because this time they don't need her anymore.
They got Kim Clayton. That's exactly where I was going. They got a new chick. They got a new chick named Kim Clayton.
The younger chick. But I married the wrong white man.
She's even cuter. She's cute.
From Maryland. You know the funny
thing. Baltimore or something. Yeah.
Okay. You know that bitch right there. I'm sorry, Beasley, but I gotta. Oh Lord. You know that bitch, right?
I can get it. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
See, and that's the reason why niggas don't have power, you pussy hungry motherfuckers. Okay? I love pussy like the next guy, probably more. Probably fucking lost too much sense because of it. Number one.
At least she on the streets doing her job.
Get the fuck out of here.
But apparently she married that white dude that got a bunch of babies from other black women. Anyway,
it's funny. It's funny. See, and that's the point. You're gonna be with a baby daddy white boy who owns a strip club, and you want to talk all these. How the fuck you talking conservative fucking talking points, and your fucking husband is a smut peddler?
Oh god! He on a strip club. Oh, I didn't know that part. Oh, he on a strip club too.
How the fuck do you talk about conservative views when your baby dad, when your husband has like 6 fucking kids with 4 other women? See, sometimes in the words of my father. Matter of fact, fuck that. Always remember this very great philosopher. You might not know him. His name is Blade. There's always some motherfucker trying to ice skate uphill. And she got them skates on, I mean, looking like Flojo trying to come up that hill. How the fuck you gonna go through? You're gonna go through some of the worst neighborhoods in Baltimore, which, by the way, the neighborhood she's walking, she didn't take a shot of the construction crews that are tearing those motherfuckers down and putting up new houses. But yet, 9 times out of 10, she wouldn't even be caught dead in that motherfucker unless she had to film it.
On the stroll again.
And I like to say this. And can somebody give me? Can somebody put me in touch with Mr. Tatum? I would love to have a nice open conversation with him.
I'm working on it.
Because
he's a YouTuber.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's funny. I bet you this motherfucker got probably 10 to 20,000 fucking subs, and I can't even get to 1,000. Motherfuck that.
He's been on the block longer, Charles. That's all.
But shit, I need to get up on the whole stroll too. Then, goddamn it.
Yeah,
he's a $500,000.
Man, Cooney pays, man.
But here it is.
Police officer too.
Here it is. Cerulean and I gave you a fucking initiative. Cerulean and I gave you an initiative, and we also gave you these. I'm like, look, number one, I could just prove a lot of this shit when it comes to a lot of these.
We only got about 4 minutes left, Charles.
I'm sorry. Somebody else take the helm.
You know what, Charles?
I just want to thank everybody. I love talking to you, brothers. I love being around people that know more than me, which is easy, I guess, when BGS is in the room. But I love talking to you, brothers. I'm out.
All right, catch you later.
Later.
All right.
Hey man, y'all stay black and pass the white women.
Oh yeah. black power, motherfucker.
But Charles, your channel would grow if you love Ken and Barbie, nigga.
I gotta have a couple. I gotta get a couple of Karens. I gotta get some black and white Oxford tap dancer shoes.
All you need to do is get some sound bites from them.
Matter of fact, I don't even need the Oxford. I need the Bros.
It's easy, Charles.
Hey, he had a warrant.
Blonde wig, blue contacts. Problem solved.
No, turn your channel into a level up channel for black women, and you'll get like 100,000 fucking subscribers overnight.
Oh, Derek Jackson.
Oh yeah.
Hey. Oh, I got the perfect pitch. Hey, black women, if you cheat on your man and he doesn't buy you that engagement ring that you always wanted, he ain't worth it. Oh shit! I'm up to 5,000 subscribers.
Black men are wrong and black women are right. That's all you
right.
got.
And then white people don't feel bad for saying the word nigga. We enjoy it. We call ourselves that all the time. Well, the guy got shot because he had a domestic violence warrant. That's why. It's justified.
Right.
Nothing justifies Jacob Blake shooting. But if you look at what he was charged with, still no excuse to shoot him. Still no excuse
Wait a
to
minute.
shoot him.
Wait a minute, Beasley. Wait a minute.
Closing thoughts.
Oh, I open up a whole can of worms.
You only got about 3 minutes to get.
Why don't you take it to the top of your show, Charles? And you get
Go start a stream real quick, and I'll put the link.
It looks pretty
starting
bad.
one?
The fact.
All right, Pete,
I'll start one.
Class.
That's an accusation.
Everybody come over to Faulkner Place. We'll talk about police politics.
Go ahead, put the link to your channel in the chat.
Let's talk about the Jacob Blake case in particular, because I've looked into it and I can speak on it, and I like to talk.
Okay.
All right. Let me get my.
I have my closing thoughts.
Go ahead.
I know you need to go.
All right. Closing thoughts,
My closing thoughts is we worship white people. Ken and Barbie is correct, and that's my conservative thoughts. Screw y'all niggas. Peace.
Anybody else?
Such niggatry should not be abolished.
I always enjoy the conversation. I won't be such a stranger. See you guys later.
All right.
Look,
Anybody
y'all
else?
need to read. Y'all need to read. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is a liberal thought by definition. Go look at the French Revolution. Go look at the relationship the founding fathers had with the French. Please. That's all I got to say. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for having me up, BGS.
Hey, no problem. Anybody else?
All right, I'm trying to get everything going. I'm gonna put this shit in the chat. Everybody want to hear me talk shit about law enforcement and all kinds of shit? Here you go.
All right.
All right.
Anybody
There
else?
we go.
All right.
Okay, I'll just say this: Black Power, motherfucker.
All right. We got 1 minute. Anybody else? Going once.
Thanks for letting me come up, BGS.
Oh, no problem. Going once. Going twice. Oh. All right. Check y'all later. Peace.
Later.